This is lesson 4, and we are looking at an elevation of the Boston Public Library facing Dartmouth Street. And in this lesson, we're going to try to get a sense, a strategy for how we're going to deal with openings, and we're going to look for some symmetry and pattern. This is a highly symmetrical classic building, and that's going to help us when we identify elements in it that we believe that we can repeat in a regular pattern, in a regular array. Let's see what other pictures we have here. So these drawings that we've since scaled in and brought into our model. So there's a relationship between the vertical elements that we're looking at here which I'll identify with the line, right? So what's holding the building up? These lines represent the points where some fairly massive structural support is happening. I've drawn quite to the center lines of these things, right? And the corners are massive intersections themselves. And in between these are openings, right? So the openings are these guys. Think of them as a continuous, right? Maybe I'll draw these in red. Here are the openings. And they occur in the same place. Right? It's clear. God's nose. So what I'm going to try to do here, open an elevation view. I've opened an elevation view so that we can see side by side the correspondence of the building. And we're gonna zoom in on this view on the first floor plan. So the opening here, that's on the upper level, lower level, represents this space here. And the massive stuff in between is the structural support that we have in between. So that if I draw in blue, what is structural that is going to represent all of this. So why have I drawn, why in plan am I extending this further? Because that what exists in the front is reflected in the occurrence of the column right there and there. Remember, we decided to engage columns into all this. So this system here, right, including this at the front, is basically everything that occurs behind that vertical space. So I need a scale drawing of the elevation so we can place it in the model and figure out how we can determine the size of those openings and devise a strategy for modeling those. So let's clear all these annotations. And let's rename this 108 drawing. Elevation, Dartmouth. Let's go to Revit. And the elevation of Dartmouth Street is going to be represented by that view, right? So let's go to that elevation view. And so we can ground the exterior walls in the earth here. Let's bring them down to, let's say, those exterior walls. Base constraint is going to be grade. Right? Let's insert image. We have a scale bar here. Yes, conveniently we do. That represents 25 feet. But you know what? I'm going to use instead because that's relatively, I'm going to measure to our reference plant. $222 feet and 6 inches. That's what I want to be for the size of this image. Select the image, resize, 222.6. I'm going to say from here to there. It's currently over 400 feet. Wants to be 222.6. That's the size of the building. Let's go into visibility settings and change our model categories for walls. Maybe we should do the columns as well. So you start to get a sense of how the columns relate to the articulation of the front of the building as a response to the structural underpinnings of the building. Take that image, move it. Level 3 may be a bit high. That's okay. Make that floor a little less thick. Let's change the column transparency. Let's see through everything. So there are a number of ways of dealing with openings in walls. And one way is to change the profile of the wall. When I edit the profile of the wall, this wall is facing me. I can draw into it just as if I'm drawing. I'm modifying the boundaries of the wall in elevation. So I can create this opening. Or I could design a window element that corresponds to that. But for now, I want to have some kind of representation. of the front of the building. I'm missing an opening over there, aren't I? So I'm roughly penciling in the openings on the first floor, facing Dartmouth Street. Right. Need one more here. And so how can I use symmetry to organize this stuff now? Well, all these guys are going to be about the same, right? About the same, exactly the same. But let's just see what I have so far. If I finish edit here, I've created a bunch of openings in my exterior wall on level 1. If I go to a 3D view, there's my entry, right? When I enter the library, I enter through there. How can I emphasize that? Let's draw the arches. Let's edit the profile. And delete those lines. (12.6). Choose that to be 12.6. So now we have 3 equivalent, right? Let's make the heights of them the same. How tall are they? Make it 12.6 for all these. And I'm going to start and radius and just draw a half circle above. These. Right? Those dimensions get preserved. Right? I'll go back to my 3D view. You can see that if I'm inside the space, that's where I enter the library. All that stuff going on back there. Back to my south elevation again. Right. Let's get a look the image. So the arched openings, the three at the front there, appear to have analogs directly above them. But I think it's safe to say that if we can somehow represent a large full height arched opening, we can use them throughout here. Back to Revit. Let us modify the model categories that need these to be a lot less opaque. Let's try 75%. So the openings that I have there are a little too squat, a little too wide. Let's go into edit profile. Let's see if we change the opening to 12 feet. Notice how the half circle above adjusts itself to that. So that may represent the outermost part. Let's try 11. Might even be 10 feet. I'm going to say 11 is good. Lines, center, so the line. Probably need to be a bit more careful with the rest of these openings, but for now, I'm going to eyeball them. See if I measure one and use that as a 6 by 10. That's good. Line, top, and bottom. get the idea. We can refine that afterwards. Figure that out. So the different strategies for going about doing it. I can take these three elements, copy them to the clipboard, finish editing this. Now select the wall on the second floor and edit that profile. I'm going to paste aligned to selected levels. I'm going to select level 2. The lines overlap, so I'm going to move them. The arches move just about to the underside of that floor. So I'm going to make that floor thickness less thick. Maybe I want the space in between these guys to benefit. Six. It's going to modify the leave it for now. I'm gonna live with that level of inexactitude. So in some places, consider this. This gets arrayed to the left, and we can't array things. Let's take these three, copy them. Right, they appear to be equidistant. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's copy 5 of them. Two more on the end. And then if we finish edit, go to a 3D view. It's not the 3D view I want. fall through. You could start to see the shape of the thing developing. We need to streamline, homogenize the first floor opening. So I'm going to do more of the same around the building. We need some evidence of what the facades. We have images. There's the nice thing about not that. This is not what it is. We have photographs of the building. You can see here how those openings were developed, right? That's what they're doing. They blocked out that space and then, you know, created the wooden scaffold to build up the stone around the columns inside the space with some modest arched vaulted ceilings. And more openings. Got a similar pattern up here, right? And those are probably similar as the exterior openings. But a different pattern of openings on the side along this street. I think it's called Blodgett Street. It's a close-up view showing so we get a sense of what it is that we're trying to build. I'm going to say that these along the side street are similar openings, and they're largely blind windows with smaller openings in between. We'll need a view along you can see why only the top part of those openings actual windows, because they needed space for the books. Okay. Let's stop there. I'll save that file and then explain in the subsequent lesson how we went about modeling the rest of the openings around the perimeter of the exterior perimeter facing the streets